Hi, my name is Eleanor, and welcome to the podcast. What are you grateful for? This is our second episode, season one, and I'm really excited to be here today. So, if you are new to this podcast is to help people like myself, people who are in, they're 10 toes down and they're really trying to do what they need to do for themselves. I started this podcast because I wanted to talk more about my vulnerabilities as well as my fears, especially as an entrepreneur and someone who's spiritual. And I hope that this podcast can inspire somebody, and I hope that it can even inspire me. Because to be perfectly honest, I hope that I can look back at this podcast somewhat like a digital journal and really be honest about how far I came, where I'm at, and what's going on in my life according to certain things. So that's what I want to do today. Today, I want to go back in to the topic again. Like I talked about this being an insecurity, but thinking about it, and more or less, it's about a fear. And one of my biggest fears is time in and time out. And if you have a similar fear, which is essentially, how much time am I going to spend in this situation? And if I spend this much time, will it actually have the expectations of what I expect it to have? And this could be in an example could be like, if I date this person, if everything goes right, will we get married? If I stay at this career rate for 5 years or this company, then I'm bound to get a raise or to get, promoted. If I continue to work out within a year, 2 years, I will look exactly the way I wanted. It's about the time going into something and then the expectation of it coming out, and also dealing with the path of an unknown while you're doing said thing. So today I want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, and I want to talk about faith. So today's episode is going to be about entrepreneurship, and this is going to be about faith. And I want to talk about this because in entrepreneurship, and what I've learned so far as an entrepreneur is that your journey in entrepreneurship tells you a lot about your character. It tells you a lot about the things that you experience. It tells you a lot about your tenacity. It tells you a lot about your faith. It tells a lot about your character and the people you work with, your level of trust, your level of willingness to kind of hit the floor and ground running and just doing what you do. So that is something that I want to talk about because my issue within entrepreneurship and for someone who's spiritually gifted is I want the comfort of knowing what's going to happen. And I want to know, how am I going to get there? What are the steps it's going to take? How long is going to take to get there? And I want to just kind of experience the glory of the success without, not necessarily without experiencing the work to get to success, but with knowing what to expect on that journey. And that's just not realistic because that's not life. Life isn't about knowing what's going to happen at every step. It's really about being pushed into certain situations or and actually staying ready. You got to stay ready. You don't want to have to get ready. You got to stay ready in order for you to keep it moving and just being able to push forward. And I feel like that is so important to understand as well as to know, because sometimes you get distraught or you get insecure or a lot of things that happen and you don't know whether or not to go or not. And then this is where I can say in my own experience of entrepreneurship that whenever I hit a small milestone, I was so proud of myself. And it was like really incredibly crazy when I would hit, let's say, a rocky portion of my business. And then I would wonder, like, if this is for me. Because we all want the glory, we all want to be the successful person. but no one tells you how hard the journey is and how insecure it could be, because you just don't know where you'll end up. You just know that you have to continue to move and just keep at the pace, keep the same momentum with the same mentality, so that way you can actually meet to what you want. And I feel that not often people talk about, like, no one talks about that. No one talks about how hard entrepreneurship. No one talks about it, especially when you're a gifted person, or just in general. Outside of being gifted, outside of being spiritual, no one talks about how difficult it could be and how scary it could be not knowing what your next step is. And I think that's why a lot of people could fail at entrepreneurship, because at least in the comfortable, you know exactly what's going to happen. You don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about, when your next paycheck is going to come in. You have this consistency in your life because it's comfortable. You can have a comfortable job, you can have a comfortable situation, you can have comfortable income coming in, but at the end of the day, that's just all it is. That's just all it is. It's just comfortable. And are you going to live a comfortable life, or are you going to actually go for the life that you're looking to build? That's a real question. And it's something that I think about all the time. And I want, like, to have a certain amount of money, to have a certain lifestyle, because I'm comfortable within that lifestyle. But I'm also understanding that fast money isn't going to build like my future. Fast money isn't going to be a good foundation, because fast money, as quickly as it comes in, is as quickly as it goes. And this is where I have to, be honest with myself, and actually, like, what I'm finding is like, do I have insecurities when it comes to my, like, do I have insecurities about my ability of moving forward and my ability of actually seeing what I want to happen, the outcome of it? Because it's, when you look at an artist's journey, an artist goes from a zero to a hero. We can look at Drake's career. He started on Degrassi and now he's known as Drake and he's an artist. But he was an actor first, and he took this avenue and he was like, I want to be this. And he became exactly what he wanted. And that requires discipline, consistency, and it also requires faith and knowing that what you want is to actually happen, that it's already done. And even without having the constant, like, okay, you got it, okay, you keep going, that reassurance, even without the constant reassurance, you yourself have to have belief. You have to have the faith that it's going to happen. And I think that for me, when I'm not seeing things as fast as I would like it, I'm not able to. Sometimes it's hard for me to maintain the energy that I'm going to make it. Sometimes it's hard for me to maintain the energy of, like, why should I keep going? And that's why I say that in entrepreneurship, everyone talks about the glory, everyone talks about being able to get there, everyone talks about the final outcome, but no one talks about, like, the inner battles that you have to deal with when it comes to entrepreneurship, especially if you have another job too. Instead of, if you are still working your 9 to 5 in order to fund your dream, then what happens is that now you are working double the work. You're still getting paid the same. One is a seed that you're planting and hopes that is going to bear fruit for you later, whereas one is a consistent paycheck. Even though you don't like it, it's like for right now. And then you have to start asking yourself, if you're someone who makes products, is this something that I really want to invest in? Is this something that I want to continue to do? Like, is this something that is, like, for me, like, is this really going to work out? And so this is where you'll hear a lot of cool actors, like, not actors, I'm sorry, people like Jeff Bezos, people like Bill Gates, people like Steve Jobs, even people like Oprah, I would say, where they worked really hard. And even homeboy who made Tesla, like Elon Musk, he worked 10 years in order to get where he was, like the final to get the recognition that he was looking for. That's a long time. That's a really, really long time. I know the person who invented Poopery, um, like did it 3 times before Poopery actually launched, and it had to start over, revamp. And it's during that time, it's like, is this actually worth it? Where I start feeling fear and wondering if it is actually worth it. But I could explain it logically, it's worth it. But emotionally, I don't feel safe and I don't feel secure because I don't know what's going on. And that's really scary for me because I want to know what's going on. And I think that comes from having a childhood where a lot of things could have not been consistent. And in adulthood, how it's showing up is that I want to know how things are going to be. And I want to know so I can feel comfortable in the space. But I have to feel comfortable even in the unknown. And I have to feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. I had to be comfortable with talking and being honest and being straightforward, even if it's like literally killing me inside and feeling like I want to run away just because it's not something that I'm normally used to doing or liking to do. And I think that, again, like within this episode, I hope the purpose of me talking about this is just to remind you that you should. Sometimes, like, really scary things are super uncomfortable, but it's so worthwhile. And you will continue to grow in the process more than you are aware of. Because I think that this issue is simply because I don't see my own potential and I'm not aware of how far it can actually go because there's an issue with self doubt. And, I want you to know that it's okay. It's absolutely okay to feel that way. And it's absolutely okay because the older you get, the more like space people leave out for you to actually make mistakes. And so if you're becoming an entrepreneur when you're older, you have a lot more responsibilities and things to do. People may not be as supportive, and people are like, kind of maybe saying, like, why didn't you do this when you were younger? Or you have a child, you can't be doing these things. Like, you need to be smart about this. Those are things that people can be saying to you and discouraging you from actually following your dreams. And at the end of the day, is if someone hasn't followed their own dreams, that's all they can teach you is not to follow your own. So why would you listen to someone who may not even have the best interests at heart, and in addition may not even have the life that you want? But sometimes it's like you can love somebody and you want to hear them to validate you just to make you feel good for that moment, but it's just for that moment, and it's just because you want to feel that you're loved, and that's not okay. I mean, it is okay, but it's not okay to throw away something that you hope so much for and let it go just because it's not under someone's approval. you know just because you feel like you want something else, and that's what's happening right now. So it's okay to be very unsure, but in the process of getting where you need to go, you have to start building yourself up and dispersing any ideas of self doubt, because the person who you are becoming doesn't have that issue of self doubt. That person that you're becoming doesn't question whether or not they can make it. It's a I know because I've already made it. And these are the things that you have to start fulfilling in your mind and saying, like, you can do it. This is why having mentorship with someone in the same field is important, because you need that word of encouragement from someone who went through a cycle of failing until they heard their yes, until they made it. And even then, with every level, there's a new devil. There's going to be new experiences that you have once you made it to where you want to go. Now it's about, and I think that's also too, like what entrepreneurship teaches you is about money and understanding how to budget when you're not having the amount that you want. But as you continue to grow to the income base that you're growing to, you're learning how to not just manage just for your lifestyle, but managing more and getting more. And that's really important, you know, that's really important. And I think that's all that I wanted to talk about for this episode. This is not a long episode. I just wanted to talk about this, like this fear, and that it's okay to have this fear. And I also want to say that the fear can come from, childhood trauma of overthinking and not knowing what's going to happen. And also just coming from not having belief in yourself. And in my case, sometimes I don't see the potential that people see in me. And it's like, how do you even see that? Because I want to see that. But it's, you have to take a step back and stop overthinking it. And sometimes you just have to take action and not be like lazy about taking action, just doing what you have to do. And eventually the energy will match up with what you're doing because you start accomplishing things. And as you start accomplishing things, it starts building your confidence level of knowing that you can secure whatever you're trying to secure, you can secure the bag. So that's what you have to keep doing, is taking action, smaller things that you need to do, take action, and just know that you're going to secure the bag. That's it. You just got to know that you're going to secure the bag. So thank you for listening to an episode of What Are You Grateful For? I am grateful for eating the ice cream that I ate today. And I'm grateful for having a really slow Saturday, just being able to relax and to stay in. And that's it. Like, I'm really grateful for those things. I hope you find something that is spectacular and that you are grateful for as well for this day. Peace, y'all.